Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. You have entered Disorder in the Court, where, yes, we talk about the cases in the court. Well, let me. We talk about the cases, but more than that, we talk about how people talk about the cases in the courtroom, how they present themselves, what words they use, the gestures they use, how they, you know, the courtroom is where the stakes are really high. People's destinies are on the line. How do they present themselves? How do they act? How do they behave? Um, and that's what we talk about here. And this young thug trial has turned into some craziness, but it's honestly, you have to sit through a lot of slowness to see the craziness, and you have to be very observant to see the craziness. So I decided that rather than covering it as a live stream, I would pick out some highlights and bring them to you. I did cover the opening statements last week, um, and the even the opening statements themselves were kind of, you know, it was just fits and starts. It started very, very slowly. And even from the beginning, we could see that this was going to be a very, very difficult case to follow and try. It's a RICO case, meaning, because the state is contending that YSL is a gang. And so there are 6 defendants. They started out with 28 defendants, but now there are 6 defendants. There are many defense attorneys, and then there are the state prosecutors. And my assessment so far is that even though the state has some very, very, qualified attorneys, they're somewhat outmatched by some of the defense attorneys, and they have their work cut out for them. And there's a lot of sparks flying back and forth between the judge and the state, and the judge and the defense attorneys. And there have also been some kind of, I don't know, uh, disrespect, um, shenanigans between some of the defense attorneys as well. But one thing I wanted to show you really quickly, which I thought was kind of funny, is that have any of you seen um, the movie Zoolander? Because if you saw Zoolander, and if you've observed Mr. Steele, the lead defense attorney who, um uh, it's not showing. There it is. If you saw Zoolander, Mr. Steele carries the blue steel duck lips. He shows the same duck lips as as Ben Stiller, trademarked in the movie Zoolander for Blue Steel. He called that face Blue Steel. Was he, seeing into the future where there's a Mr. Steele, or did he see Mr. Steele one day doing his duck lips in the wild and just copy that? I don't know. That's just, something for us to ponder. But anyway, what I wanted to show you guys are some of the moments that I thought were interesting, where there were words that were that went back and forth between the judge and the state, and the judge and Mr. Steele, um, and also some of the opening arguments that I didn't show last week, that frankly, in all honesty, I wasn't particularly overwhelmed. I was kind of underwhelmed by all of the opening arguments in their, power and persuasion. But there were there were a couple of standout opening arguments last week, and I'm going to show them to you at the end of this. They're not super long. But before that, I'm going to show you a couple of the standout moments between the judge and especially the state. Now, I thought it was interesting today that Ms. Love, the primary state prosecutor, wasn't present today. So I'm going to show you some of the things that happened today. Today started with about 30 to 50 minutes of just arguments before the jury even came in, of bickering and arguments between the defense and the prosecution about witnesses and witness lists and coordination between witness lists, and the judge admonishing the state about basically logistics and telling them that they basically need to get their act together. So let me bring this up for you. Hold on a moment. Oh, the other thing, and you'll see this as we start to watch some of this stuff, is that Jeffrey Williams, the main defendant, wore a wolf sweater today. He's a fashion. He has a clothing line, and he's kind of a fashion icon. He considers himself a fashion icon. And I guess what they were calling this today is an Amiri sweater. I'm not into fashion, so I don't know what that means. But it was a wolf, a sweater, a brown sweater with a wolf on it. And the chat was going insane about this wolf sweater that he was wearing. So, let's show some of these highlights from earlier today. Hold on. One moment. And I hope you all are having a good day today so far. Okay. Here's where the judge and the second chair state prosecutor are going back and forth.
The problem that
and also apologies for the sound in this court is really, really bad. It's hard to listen to, so I have no control over that.
The court has is that, I could have been made aware of all of these ebbs and flows on Friday. And I find it very, challenging that I wasn't included on any of the other conversations that you all had this weekend, past Friday.
And one of the things I find interesting is that this court reporter, man, she's in so many frames, and she's in all the frames where the judge is complaining, frames where the judge is complaining, and you have to watch her face, like listening and having to copy everything down. And, it must be hard for her to keep like a neutral stance while all this is going on. So you watch her just trying to listen and stay neutral and type everything out.
And I guess I wasn't intentionally, because I didn't know the court wanted to know the back and forth. I knew that you wanted to know about the witnesses, so the court was included when we sent their list on Friday. I mean, we provided these individuals on Friday at the appointed time that the court advised that she wanted the information, or that we needed to send the information. And then, there was a lot of back and forth.
So far, based on the performance of the state between last week and now, they appear super incompetent. And you wonder for yourself, how are they going to pull off proving that these guys are a gang? And the opening arguments took me pretty far along that trajectory. But since then, I mean, just they are so disorganized, and a lot of their behavior is so unprofessional. It's really hard to see how they're going to pull this off. And if you take this even further, this is the same team, I think, and the same, at least it's the same DA's office that is supposed to be proving their case against Donald Trump. And it makes you wonder, are they equipped to do this? Or maybe they're just testing their mettle against this case, whatever. It just feels unlikely that it took 10 months to get a jury and they're still weaving and bobbing.
I didn't know as far as scheduling. I didn't know as far as scheduling, so that's why we didn't include the court.
The challenge that I'm having is that you all certainly should have put your colleagues on notice on Friday and said, listen, we may be calling additional witnesses outside.
The thing is, you don't have to be familiar with the case to get how silly the behavior is in the courtroom and how disorganized and confusing it all is. And and also that's partially what my channel is about. It's really about talking about how people present themselves when their lives are on the line. And this is such a big case. It'll take a while for anybody to get it, really. But that's why it's so interesting to me. So anyway.
Out of the 70 to deal with exigencies of proof.
We did. That was our email on Friday, Your Honor. That was the 11th. That was the 12 o'clock.
See, did you hear how? Did you hear how she responded to this judge? We did.
Email, and that's when we listed
her
everyone.
Tone talking to him.
I didn't get that. Okay.
Yeah, that was the initial list, and I believe you are copied on it, Your Honor. That is the list.
I mean, I understand being frustrated when you feel that you've done something, and the judge didn't notice it, but you'll see here that snarky. You'll see here that he goes back and says, they go back and forth, and there's basically a big misunderstanding. And when you know that you're right, you don't have to be snarky, you don't have to take a tone. It doesn't accomplish anything, and it certainly doesn't make you look good.
Okay, but how come we couldn't have this discussion when we were in court?
On Thursday.
On Thursday. How come we couldn't have this discussion on Thursday? I mean, I told you all to kind of, I know you told me, hey, our investigative team lays up our witnesses, and they tell us who's going to be available for the next day or the next couple of days. And I asked you all, can you all kind of do a little bit better job of that? We're dealing with right now a little bit.
You told us we're not going to take that excuse anymore, and we understood that. That is why we provided that list on Friday. And then last night, we provided an additional witness list for the rest of the week so that it wasn't last minute. So at this point, up and through at least we believe these witnesses will get us till Wednesday. Defense counsel knows who will call at least up until Wednesday. And then in my email to the court, in my email to defense counsel yesterday, we told them that we will let them know. My goal is by close of business today, we're calling officer me, and our goal is no issue.
Terabytes worth of documents or whatever, and a lot of people need to print documents or have paper. I'm not going to call these particular individuals, and I'm going to take whatever materials that I need to prepare. So I don't want to, because I'm going to tell you, I'm becoming very, very skeptical at this point in time, and exclusion would not be a far-reaching remedy for me at this point.
So that's basically him telling her that, and that is the most far-reaching remedy in terms of what they're fighting about is whether to include a witness or not. And he's basically, thank you, Amelia. I appreciate that. He's basically telling her, I might exclude this witness because you didn't really tell us on time. And I didn't show you this, but earlier she got up and said, I sent an email at 11:59 p in the afternoon at 11:59 p.m. So that might have been a speaking mistake, but 11:59 p.m. is not the afternoon. That is literally the last minute of the day, right? So if she did send it at 11:59, it was literally a minute before midnight, right? She may have sent it at 11:59 a.m., which would have been 12, which would have been almost the afternoon, right? So anyway, it's just the point being that these people are really, really disorganized, rather unprofessional. Their conduct with the judge isn't super isn't super professional. There's another interaction between the judge and there's a couple interactions between the judge and Ms. Love that I want to show you. Hold on just a moment. Let's see. I think this. Y'all. I think I need to get the sound on.
Just stop. Look, we'll see. We'll see if it's just one. I doubt it.
Watch how what he says to her.
What happened?
Apologize to.
She says
in this case, okay.
She says, I want to, and this is last week. She says, I have one more question for this witness. The witness had already been excused. And Ms. Love, the prosecution says, oh, I'm sorry. I do have one more question.
Officer Mannheim, thank you for your patience with us. We're going to go ahead and temporarily excuse you as a witness. I can't tell you when we'll call you back.
The camera's even pointed down. And then listen.
We'll let you know. Don't discuss your testimony with anybody except the attorneys in this case, okay? And I'll give you plenty of time to come back and see us when we need you, okay? All right, thank you. Okay.
I apologize to the court. Before Officer Mannheim is excused for the day, I'd like to ask one further question regarding that firearm, following up with what I just asked.
You can never ask one question, Ms. Love. Okay? It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. You always ask more than one question. I wish you'd just stop. Look. We'll see. We'll see if it's just one. I doubt it.
Look, she's laughing too.
Okay, all right, go for it.
Officer Mannheim.
And for the record, she does just ask one more question. But like by this time, you could see on the timeline there, it's at the very, very end of the day. And she is, man, she's pushing it with him. There's another one. Here, I'll show you this right here.
We're having the same conversation again, Ms. Love. Because this is the third time we've had this conversation.
Only, Your Honor, because there are people who...
And why did I tell you that I was doing this?
You said because you wanted to make certain that the people that were received after September 22nd, that they had an opportunity to interview. And there are people who are on this list that were on the list way before then and that have been available for the defense if they chose or attempted to interview them.
The other challenge that we've had is we've been picking a jury for almost 11 months. So I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to do that. Okay. So that's the way that I even out the playing field in that respect. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
I understand that everybody may have been at a location, but nobody here has basically been working to select this jury, and that's why the court has told you that I want to make sure that at least you have the opportunity to do so. Okay. Now, whether or not they talk to counsel is another thing, but it would be, I'm asking as a matter of professional courtesy and otherwise, and to make sure that there are no delays in presentation of the case to the jury, or minimize the delays, at least people
So, he's constantly having to correct her. And so this was on Friday when all of this, or no, yeah, I think it was Friday. It was either Thursday or Friday. I don't think they had court Friday, so I think this was Thursday, but it was the last time they had court before today. And then they came back today and Ms. Love wasn't there. It was her second chair, the one that's sitting there typing. And I don't recall them today saying why Ms. Love wasn't there. So I have no idea whether it's because there's any issues or it's because for any other reasons, or it's really unclear. But all these people know that they are being heavily watched, on social media. They're being broadcast. So it's really interesting to watch all this go down. Now, where's the other one? What I want to go back, I want to show from today how Miss.
It is not our intention for us to have it again.
Because
So I'm going to scroll to the part today where you can see what there's Jeffrey Williams today. Check out that. In all honesty, I think that's a kind of cool sweater. But you should have seen, I don't know if any of you were in the chat watching this today. I doubt you were. I think you maybe are just here because you're watching me. But people were going apeshit in the chat over this sweater. And I kind of think it's cool. Now, it might have been a statement. There may be some symbolism there that I don't know about. A lot of people talk about red, being a color of the Bloods and that they're part of a blood gang. I don't know. But, he's a fashion guy. The last week he was wearing, I don't know. He comes to, it's becoming wild, Amelia. It's just, the thing is that it's not like nonstop wild. You have to really catch the wild parts. It's really slow going. There's a lot of fits and starts, and it's really, really, it's hurry up and wait. It's almost like being on a movie set. It's very much like entertainment. But let me get to no, that's it. That's from before. Now, one thing I've noticed as well is that he's really starting to show more of his personality. You can see there, we're just going to run a little bit of video. He's starting to show more of his personality. He's much more stoic. He was much more stoic when they started, the trial. But lately he's been showing more of his personality, and you can see when he interacts with people and his lawyer in court that he is really charismatic, and he speaks a lot with his eyes. Like, his eyes are really, really expressive. And let me get to a part where you can see him interacting. Like, see how expressive his face is. And he's a very tall person. So you see that he's a big presence. It's not a big leap for me to believe that he could lead a gang. I mean, I don't know if he's a leader of a gang. I just have a hard time believing that this team of prosecutors are going to be able to prove it to this jury. It's so confusing. It's so disjointed that what they seem to be doing is bringing up a bunch of witnesses that for separate different cases, that they're trying to all enjoin under this RICO case. And he's taking a side glance at what the guy's writing there. He's like, what is he writing there? So they're trying to, take this RICO umbrella, and they're almost trying all kinds of mini cases under this RICO charge. And so when they bring up witnesses, they're talking about marijuana arrests and they're talking about gun arrests. And it's almost like they have to prove that every single arrest was warranted in order to prove that it was all done for the furtherance of criminal behavior and criminal activity. And, that isn't, I don't think that that's that difficult to prove, but they're doing it in such a disjointed and flip-floppy manner that it just seems, I don't know. I think they have a really, really long road ahead of them. I think that I think they have more of a tendency to confuse the jury than to convince them. I mean, remember, it's the burden of proof is on the state beyond a reasonable doubt. And they have to prove that because of this gang, they murdered and, committed these crimes. So it's a big possibility that they really overcharged, and that people are, the jury's just going to be resentful that they spent all this money. They spent all of the state's money to try this case, and they may have overcharged. Now, when you look at all of the co-defendants and you look at Jeffrey Williams individually, you see that all of them have some sort of charges against them in the past. So there are obviously various levels of criminality in these people's worlds. And the issue is, do you tie that all together with a gang? I don't feel convinced that this team of prosecutors is going to be able to pull that off. And, I think the defense attorneys are doing everything in their power to just throw spokes in the wheel, right? Now, there's a couple other things I wanted to show you. Let's see. You can never ask one question. Oh, yeah, there's now back to Mr. Steele. There was a pretty interesting moment in court where he mishandles evidence. He mishandles a gun. He takes it out, and of course it's unloaded, right? But still, you never point a gun at somebody when you take it out. Sorry, I want to make sure you could. I want you to hear this whole thing because it's pretty funny.
From running a computer check, it comes up stolen from the serial number. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay. And you found the item, though, underneath the passenger seat.
Well, look at where he's pointing.
Right?
Look where he's pointing the gun.
Handling weapons, please.
Okay. And
Look how he handles the gun.
from running a computer
So
check.
right here, like literally the gun is pointing right at the defense attorney and one of the co-defendants over there. What the hell, man? I mean, I am not a gun owner. I have nothing against gun ownership whatsoever, but I'm not a gun owner. But I know that you never, ever, ever handle a gun in such a way that it points at anybody, even if you know it's unloaded. It's just not what you do. I mean, come on, look at Alec Baldwin, right? I mean,
It comes up stolen from the serial number. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay. And You found the item, though, underneath the passenger seat
Mr.
on the
Steele?
floorboard. Is that right?
I need to teach you about handling weapons. Please point the muzzle always downward, no matter if it's unloaded, okay?
I know it's unloaded, but yes,
You
sir.
make everybody nervous, okay? To include Mr. Kearns, who you're pointing it at, all right? All right.
I apologize, Mr. Kearns.
And we're
Is
going
that
to keep
true? It's
watching
on
this
the
a little
floor?
bit because now that
Two-door car?
Ms. Love is like
Underneath that.
throwing
I stand the question.
Do you know how long? And that,
disrespect.
tell the ladies
You're
and
rolling eyes.
Why don't you
and stuff.
rephrase?
Objection as to foundation.
I stand the question, Mr. Steele. Why don't you just ask him if he knows who owned the vehicle?
the owner
Look
of
at
the
the faces
car
Ms. Love
was.
throws.
Let me
When I ran the vehicle tag information.
And Your Honor, the reason that I did not know.
his in.
Your report
I don't remember the name.
to bring to court the video and the audio. Is that true?
I want to say the prosecutor asked for me to bring that to court.
Okay. And you tried to find it,
He
right?
is a hoot.
Yes.
Look at
And
her.
other
She's
people
like,
tried to find it. If you know, if you don't know, that's
what the hell am
I
I
don't know how
hearing?
hard they tried, but other people did look for it, yes.
And it came back that there is no audio or video that I could show to the jury, right?
That is true.
It's law, right? Is that true? Is that fair?
At the time of the traffic stop, no, I did not.
No. I'm saying you know that now.
So when most of this is happening, I'm watching the chat, and what I noticed, and here's how you could tell that the YSL is probably a gang, is that there's all kinds of people in chat that are named Slugga or Slugga Yugga or things like that. And they're putting in all kinds of signs, and the moderators are having to think about whether they should delete a comment because it's a gang sign or not. And they're saying all kinds of gang stuff in the chat, or at least things that could be construed as gang stuff. They're even calling out the moderators and saying, hey, you mods, you my slimes. So, I mean, the people in the chat are not helping very much to dissuade people from believing that this is not a gang. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they just want people to support the gang, right? But or maybe it's the other side wanting people to believe it's a gang. You never know, because it's the court of public opinion. But I'm going to end this by showing you a couple of the the opening arguments that were interesting. One was a somewhat silly but short opening argument, and the other one is some excerpts from a really powerful, what I thought was the most powerful opening argument. So let's get to that.
Sir. All right, Ms. D. Williams, you are welcome to begin whenever you like, madam.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The audio on this one is absolutely horrible.
Hope everybody had a good lunch.
But basically, this girl tells us, hey,
So I'm attorney Angela D. Williams, and I have the privilege of representing Rebellious Ryan over there in the back. Poor, young, convenient. That's all it takes to become the target of the state. I'm going to break that down for you. Poor. Rebellious was born on a couch. Let that sink in. He was born on a couch. From day one that he was brought into this world, he has been fighting to survive. The hospital was only 5 minutes away. I don't want to throw a school under the bus or anything, but the elementary school and middle school that he went to, 98% of the children there were on free or reduced lunch. What that means is they lived at the national or under the national poverty level. They accused educators of cheating the students.
I'm going to get to the part where she
The DA kept going
tells
around
us
saying, we got to think of the children. We have to think about Puerto Rico tribal students. On Cleveland Avenue is a very dangerous all the time because I used to love this group called Cold Rain. It was my favorite group. I used to hashtag everything. Cold rain, cold rain, cold rain. Cold rain. It was my media. I needed to adapt. And he did what most teenagers and preteens do. They mimic. I remember when I was younger, growing up on social media, I used to hold up the C symbol all the time because I used to love this group called Cold Rain. It was my favorite group. I used to hashtag everything. Cold rain, cold rain, cold rain. After every post, it would be cold rain. It would be rain emojis. Fortunately for me, I didn't grow up poor, so the state didn't care what I was doing. Unlike Rodalius, if I had grown up on Cleveland Avenue with all these rain emojis and C, I would have been accused of being a crook. I would have been a gang member. It's some murder that happened. When you're young, Fulton County, and I don't know about you, but a lot of people in here haven't been to prison. But if you've ever gone to prison, you would know it's overcrowded, it's underfunded, college or a new job thing. Rodalius had to do what he's had to do since day one, survive in prison. And if you look at Rodalius, you can see he's maybe 100 pounds soaking wet. So he posts things. He posts things on Instagram. And I wouldn't even call them Instagram posts. I would call it a survival post. He has to boast. He has to be boastful. He has to show people, this is what I have. Because he has to protect himself. It's prison. So you put poor, young, and convenient together, and what do you have? You have the perfect scapegoat for the state. This indictment has 28 co-defendants. The prosecutors keep saying, we're trying to clean up the streets of Atlanta. We're cleaning up Fulton County. We're trying to drive crime down. You just heard me say Rodalius is in prison. The jurors got it wrong in that murder case, and they convicted him. He's going to be there for life. They're not cleaning up the streets of Atlanta. They're cleaning up the prisons. And I promise you, the people in the prison, the wardens, they know how to handle their inmates. They don't need the DA's help. They have it. At a count, 190 posts. He has to do these posts so he can survive. It reminds me of this anime named Bleach, where...
So what she does here is she starts to compare this situation to an anime, an anime character's story arc.
It's 16 seasons. Every episode is about 18, 20 episodes. Sorry, every season is 18.
And my question here is, how is a jury supposed to, how does she think that comparing his story to an anime story arc gonna help him?
The 20 episodes, and they have season 4 and 5. They have these bouts. They're villains of the whole thing in season 4 and season 5. The main characters are trying to get them out of soul society. You go to season 6, you don't hear about the bounce. You go to season 7, you don't hear about the bounce. Why don't you hear about these important characters? Because they're filler characters. It's a filler season. Me and Rodalius, we're fillers. We're not.
So according to her, he's just a filler. He's just a filler. He's just somebody to help the state's case about RICO, which is I don't know. It's kind of a silly argument. But I'm going to show you a few excerpts from the next guy's opening statements, which his, as I thought, was the most well presented opening statements.
But those acts didn't even need to be crimes. That's what the evidence will show. That's what the state says the evidence will show. They told you that those overt acts don't even have to be crimes, but you should, as a result, find him guilty of criminal RICO. This isn't a civil trial, this is a criminal trial. And they told you he doesn't even need to commit a crime, that you should find him guilty of a crime. Does that make sense to you? Does 1 + 1 equal 3?
Objection, misstatement, argument.
I stand in objection to that.
to do a dirty magic trick and show you his past. He pled guilty to a gun offense years ago. And so he must have been possessing the guns. That's their theory. Assume and speculate to find him guilty. That's not what we do in this democracy. It has to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. One witness, please, that says Diamante Kendrick was holding a firearm that night. Diamante Kendrick bought one of the guns. Diamante Kendrick used one of the guns. No one. No one's going to testify to that. And why is that? Because he didn't have any of those guns. He was at a house where there were guns.
You see that this guy is like, he really knows his client's case. He's extremely passionate about it, and he's angry. And that's the kind of defense attorney you want.
That doesn't mean you could go to a party with 50 people, somebody has guns, you don't know about it? Wasn't.
Now, what
wasn't in possession of any firearms, illegal, machine gun, or otherwise.
And it may be that his client is as guilty as hell, but man, this is the kind of defense attorney you want. You know what I mean? Because he's extremely well-spoken and passionate and convincing. So this is the type of person that you have to, because he could be using his power of persuasion and his ability to speak well in front of a jury. You have to use the evidence and the facts to be able to pick through what he's saying. But he also could be making a truthful argument as well. That's why I find the courtroom so fascinating. I find it so fascinating because so much is riding on the way things are presented. And, you and me are just like any jury. We're going to be just as knowledgeable as any jury sitting there. And just as swayed or not swayed by how the defense, argues for their client, how the prosecution argues their case, and the interactions between the judge and the judges and the prosecutors. A lot of the interactions are not in front of the jury, but some of them are, and could sway, opinions as well. So anyway, those are just the things I wanted to show you, some of the highlights. I'm going to continue monitoring this. It's supposed to go on for quite some time. So as more highlights occur, I will bring them to you. And and with cases like this, you don't really start getting to the meat, to the meat of the case itself until further down the line. That's when the state usually starts bringing its biggest evidence, and when they're really starting to pull things together and pull the storyline together, if they can, because this apparently is an extremely difficult one to try. We shall see. And I'm sure that the one defense attorney or another is going to try to call for a mistrial at one point or another. I'm pretty sure they already have several times before this, before it even got to trial. So, if you have any other past trials or current trials that you would like to see covered on this channel, please feel free to leave a suggestion anywhere on my, on my community tab, and, in a comment or whatever. I plan to do both past trials, high profile trials, smaller trials, whatever. I'm just very, very, very interested in how people behave in court and the outcomes, and especially when we know the outcome. And there are certain upcoming trials that I know I'm planning to cover. If you are watching my community tab, I posted about Gabby Petito's parents' civil trial coming up next year, which I plan to cover live. I also plan to cover the Chad Daybell trial and the Lori Daybell trial in Phoenix, which both would be coming up next year. And I'll probably cover the Brian Koberger trial because I am really interested in that case. And, why not? So thank you for being here. Please remember to hit the thumbs up. Help me get this channel back into the algorithm. I need to just be continue to be consistent on this channel, and I don't use other social media methods to promote myself because I just don't really like social media. I know that's weird, but I just don't like it. I don't like social media, but here I am on social media. So anything you can do to interact with my streams would be really helpful. Thank you very much, and I will see you on the next stream. Bye, Evil Queen Yaya, and bye, Amelia.